Hi, I'm supposed to be on vacation, but other stuff happened. You can hear it in my voice. Other stuff has happened.
Yeah, sometimes life doesn't go to plan. And when things don't go quite well, I tend to get a little cynical and negative sometimes. I've had to work really hard in my life to kind of course correct my intuition, my initial instinct to be negative. I try to find the silver lining or the bright side to these kind of unforeseen negative events in my life. I want to discuss my recent vacation nightmare and also a time in my life where I lost my career job right when I had my first child. And also how totaling my hot rod muscle car was probably the best thing that ever happened to my family. All of those events had some really high positivity associated with them, even if initially it seemed like a disaster. So let's discuss. First off, my vacation, just last month, I wanted to have a vacation. My wife and I really needed to get away. It had been a while since we'd gone anywhere together, so we booked a vacation. We got an Airbnb all hooked up, and initially we were going to stop at a place called Daiso. I don't know if you have a Daiso in your area, but they're a little Japanese store. They're kind of all over the place, and they sell a bunch of cool Japanese stuff for a pretty good price. Well, this Daiso was packed, and somebody in there was sick because a couple days later, my wife got sick, which was unfortunate. But the one initial thing driving up there, I got a text from the person who runs the Airbnb, like, here's the code, here's how to get into the place. Oh, by the way, don't flush toilet paper. What? Like, huh? That initially freaked out my wife. She's like, why? Why don't they want us to flush toilet paper? Oh, we're on a septic tank and might clog the drain. It's like, toilet paper isn't going to clog the drain more than my other business. So we texted my brother-in-law, asked him, hey, you're a plumber. What the hell's this? And I was like, no, that's a bunch of BS. So yeah, we did not do that. But my wife getting sick while we're up in the beautiful forest where we're supposed to go out and drive around and see beauty and be into the nature didn't quite happen so much. So the first day we were able to go out after we got settled, we were fine. Nobody fell sick. We went out to the lake. That was really nice. And I was like, man, this is going to be a nice vacation. We're going to go kayaking tomorrow, and then my wife woke up a little scratchy throat, not feeling so well. The next day she had a fever, and then I got sick. And on top of both of us getting sick, there was no air conditioning. So it's summertime, it is cooler up in Washington, but it is still hot. And so we were a little bit uncomfortable. I did think to bring a fan from home, so that wasn't too bad. But without air conditioning, it was a little more uncomfortable, and having to leave all the windows open. I don't know if you've seen lately, but Washington is on fire. So there's a whole bunch of smoke coming in from particles in the air, I'm sure. On top of us probably having some kind of variant of some sort was obnoxious. Eventually, we left our vacation 3 days early. I texted the person who runs the Airbnb. Luckily, they were able to refund us one day. I didn't expect to get any money back, so that was kind of nice. And then on my drive home, I stopped to go to the restroom at a grocery store and had to deal with an event with two people possibly overdosing on heroin in one of the stalls of the restroom. But it was just like, what is happening? All that stuff combines to make the vacation seem a little on the negative side. And so when I got home, I had all these plans I had taken 2 weeks, 1 week to go away with the wife, 1 week to do some chores around the house and just hang out, watch movies and such. I didn't get to do any of those chores. None of those chores happened, but being sick, I got to relax all week. Paid, I had a paid vacation here, and I didn't have any sick time. So the bright side of this whole event is that I got to still hang out with my wife. We got to watch a lot of Olympics. We watched some movies. I got to watch the documentary on Lollapalooza, which if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It is really awesome. If you like Lollapalooza, like my wife and I went to the first 3 Lollapaloozas, and it was really awesome to see the Lollapalooza documentary. My wife and I played No Man's Sky together and finished the latest expedition. So there are positive events that happened. Yes, we were both sick and felt like crap and were coughing for 3 weeks, but we got to spend a lot of time together. I got time to rest, which Usually I probably would have had to work through some of that sickness. Instead, I was able to sleep and rest and take my time to get well. So I turned what is a negative situation into some positivity and thought about, well, at least I'm getting to rest with you, honey. All right, another situation that happened with me was my career. Now, I had thought that I was going to be a postman, right? I was working for the mail, working for the post office as a mail carrier. I was this temporary position, and these are these temp positions they have who are temp to hire. So you get to work there for these contracted positions. I was there for 1.5 years total before I got laid off. And I took the test. I did all the things to become a mailman. I was delivering mail all over the place. And I was ready to be hired. I passed my test and was good to go, and I got laid off because there was a hiring freeze and they couldn't hire me. Well, this happened 3 months after my first child, my only child, was born. And so here I am now. I have no job. I have a child and a wife that need some attention. The baby is brand new. My wife's got postpartum happening, so that was a struggle. And I have no insurance and no money, and we had to get unemployment going. So I got my unemployment, and I couldn't find any work that would pay higher than what I was making on unemployment, because I was working for the post office, getting paid pretty well for that 1.5 years. So my unemployment was actually pretty good. Eventually, not finding any work, unemployment ran out. We had to get on welfare and food stamps, and that was a nightmare. And I started working 2 jobs to pay for things and try to get off welfare. I was working all day and all night, basically, and it was a rough situation. But at the end of all that, I found a program through California that gave training to people that are low income. And because I had not been able to find any work, I had very low paying temp jobs that I was working. I qualified for this program where I could get training on being a computer support specialist. And so I got my NCSE, they call it. It's a network certified security engineer or service engineer. I forget what the NCSE stands for, but it was the big deal Holyfield back in the day. And I got trained on Windows NT, which if you're old enough to remember NT, it's ages ago, before Windows 2000 even. I got trained and certified in that and was able to get a job that I'm still working today. I'm actually still working for the first company that hired me, which is really wild to think about. All these years later, I'm still working for that company and making good money doing computer work, and I'm really good at my job. And, if I had worked for the post office, I wouldn't even be making half the money I'm making now. Yeah, it's a government job. Yes, it does have a pension, so those things are a little bit of a benefit. But I've got a 401k, an IRA. I've been saving money. I've got a nice house. I've been able to afford things that, if I had stayed at the post office, might not have been the case. And here I am in Oregon. I don't know that I would still be able to move, because when you're stuck with the post office, you can transfer, but it's not that easy. So all these things led to something positive. It seemed negative at the time. Being on welfare sucks. Being on food stamps sucks. Anybody tells you that people that are on welfare enjoy it, they do not. It sucks ass. And so getting off of that and getting into that training program was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been laid off from the post office in the first place. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is my Dodge Challenger. I bought, when they started re-releasing the Challengers in the hot rod red, I wanted one. I wanted the orange, actually, but the orange only came in the RS, and I could not afford that. So I got I think it was the SE, Challenger SE. But I bought the first year, bought it in red. I love that car. I drove it to work and back for a couple of years and realized, oh my God, this is a lot of gas. And I got a different car, and I gave my wife the Challenger and said, you just cruise around town. You're not driving all the way to Irvine and back for work. So you take the car that looks amazing but has high gas mileage. I'll take the cheaper car that gets 40 miles to the gallon. We paid off that car. So now we have a hot rod in the driveway that's paid off, feeling good. And then my wife totaled it, and head-on collision into 3 cars, and the car was a total loss. And first off, when my wife calls me and says I was in a head-on collision, like, really scary. I drove right up there. Luckily, I was in town that day. Drove up to where it happened. She was on the curb. She was physically fine, emotionally shaken. Some of the other people were a little bit more damaged. There was just all kinds of mess from that. But from within, I think, 2 weeks of that car crash, the insurance had given us a check. And at the time, we hadn't thought about it, but the market for real estate was actually on the rise again. Now, we bought our house, unfortunately, in 2009 when the market went like that. So basically, we bought our house, went instantly into the red, and stayed there until we could sell our house again. So it was starting to climb, and I thought, remember how we've always talked about moving to Oregon where it's beautiful and the weather's nice, and you know how much it sucks here in California where it's 100 and some degrees almost every single day of the summer, and it's super muggy now because for whatever reason California turned humid. Yeah, remember how that could happen, that we wanted to do what we wanted to do since we were in our 20s? And my wife's like, I'm down, let's do it. And we took that money from the sad event of losing my poor Challenger. And we took that money and we put it into our house, fixed it all up, sold it for a profit, moved up to Oregon, and we were able to get it all done with that money. And that car money helping us sell our house also helped us buy this house, and this house is awesome. I got more than double the square footage for less the cost of my house that I had in California. You can get a lot more house in Oregon compared to California. And, I wouldn't have been able to do that without getting my poor, sad Challenger destroyed by my wife. My wife watches these videos, so I'm just adding a little bit in there for her. But also, on top of all that, when we bought a new car for my wife, I paid no tax. There's no sales tax up here, so I saved so much money on tax compared to California. And the registration in California for vehicles, oh my God, it's so expensive. Up here, it's like every 2 years, super cheap. It's ridiculous. And she got a car that is so much better than the Challenger. She had this really, really nice Chrysler. It's fully loaded. I'm talking about stuff that I didn't even know they put in cars was in this thing. And it has a V8 with like double the horsepower that the Challenger ever had. That thing is amazing. So yeah, there's always something. If you look at the initial situation, yeah, it might be negative, but you can always go, you know what? How can we turn this around? What is positive from this situation? And it has occurred so many times throughout my life where I thought, you know what? There's no reason to be worried because something positive is going to come out of this. It always does. Or because of my attitude, I can make things positive from a bad situation. That whole lemons to lemonade thing is so true if you apply it. You can be a cynic, you can be a glass half full kind of person, but really, if you just turn your attitude around, things just come from the universe. The universe and all the force that we all feel wants to have positive things happen for us and to us. And, sometimes some really negative crap can happen. I mean, I've been gone through the ringer, but at the end of the day, I can be positive at the end of that ringer and pick myself back up and dust myself off. I know that if I can be on welfare working 2 jobs and still not get off food stamps, and then to be able to find a job that has been able to support me since then, I can survive anything. We can all do it together. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. I definitely needed it. I haven't recorded a video in weeks because I've been so sick. I had planned on doing some cool videos up on vacation. That didn't happen. It sucked. But, I'm back. I'm feeling better, and I'm really glad to share this with you today. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. Throw a subscribe on there for me so that you can see videos when I upload them in the future, and I will see you in the next one.